Well, hello everyone. Happy Memorial Day. Um, I don't know how many people will get here today because of it being Memorial Day. I'm sure a lot of you are cooking out with friends and family, enjoying some home time. I was going to do a video yesterday, and I figured a lot of you were watching the Indianapolis 500. I did watch the last 33 laps of it. What a great race! Um, but I'm sure a lot of you are going to be catching this video on the replay, and that's fine. I can't say that I blame you for that. Hope you're having a great Memorial Day. As you're celebrating, though, think of all the fallen soldiers that have given their lives so that we have the freedoms that we have today, the ability to agree to disagree, and to even make dumb decisions. There's a lot of countries where you don't have the ability to make dumb decisions. The government tells you what you're going to do in life, your plot in life, and that's what it is. The freedom to go to church and all of these things that we take for granted and don't realize how lucky and blessed we are. Speaking of being lucky and blessed, I've got 4 channel members that have stuck with me through good and bad, and I want to give them a shout out, starting with the original one. Speaking of roughing it right now, Robbie Ross, who is in Hawaii on vacation, he's really roughing it right now. But he's been a real good friend over the years. Also, speaking of good friends, I've got 3 more here to mention. Actually, I've got a lot more than that, but these are the 3 we're going to recognize right now. Ramon, Adam, and Gary, thank y'all for being longtime channel members. Some of them have been channel members as long as 19 consecutive months. And so appreciate each and every one of y'all. As far as what I've been up to, I've been watching some YouTube. I've learned some stuff about me this week that I didn't know. But I got here last week. I had a crazy adventure in New Mexico. I'm sure we'll get into it in this show. And then I got to Lubbock and had almost an identical uh, crazy adventure with the same company, different broker. And I thought I was going to have some more of those loads. They fell through. And so I've been here at the house. It worked out well. Um, my grandson, my oldest grandson, graduated this week. And so we had, graduation. We had a graduation parade. Last night we had a graduation dinner. And so it worked out good that I was here. I had a pretty full week, but the plan is tomorrow to go back to work, and I'm hoping to leave pretty early in the morning, or early for me, 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning. We'll see how that goes. I'll get up, start calling brokers about 8 o'clock in the morning, see what I can find. I thought I had a load today going from Lubbock uh, to just a couple hours away. That load fell through. We was a couple of $100 away on price, but I'll hit them again in the morning and see what we can get worked out on that load. As far as well, we'll save some of it for later in the show. I'm not sure how long we're going to go today. Not sure how many people we'll have here, and man, they've added some new features on here. Sorry, I don't know if we're going to try it tonight, but we may try some of these new features here in the future. But yeah, it's definitely been a wild ride. Let me talk about one more thing before I get to the comments. I heard on another YouTube channel that I'm having problems with SRO logistics. Now, this is news to me. Um, I have mentioned in the past that there was 1 or 2 policies that I did not like here and that I was looking at other options. But if that in no way means I'm having problems at SRO Logistics or anything like that. As a matter of fact, since I did my last video, he did something really nice for all his drivers on a particular day that wasn't required, wasn't called for, anything like that. So, if anything, SRO Logistics is in better standing with me than they were last time I did a video. People that call me and ask me about SRO Logistics, I'm still recommending them. I'm still saying they're a good company. I have applied a few places and looked at some other options, but nothing's made me want to jump ship yet. I've said in multiple videos that it's the best place I've ever worked. And so uh, when you get to that echelon, it's dangerous to switch jobs because you're probably not going to something better. I'm not saying you won't go to something better, but it's just you're risking a lot for not much more reward. For example, let me just give you a quick example. This week, for example, being able to be here for my grandson's parade, his graduation dinner, all of those things. There's a lot of companies I wouldn't have been able to do that, even with my own truck. A lot of them still try to control your home time. They give you a lot of grief about it. Scott hasn't given me any grief about it. He did call me once to tell me that he didn't like the way a broker was treating me, and I agreed with him. It's one of the stories I'll tell you here in a little bit. But yeah, it. So there's no bad blood between us. I was kind of shocked to hear that on another channel, but sometimes the best way I can learn about myself is to watch other YouTube channels and see what the gossip is. But yeah, it's everything's fine. I have not made a final decision, but I'm leaning towards just staying here at SRO Logistics. I hope to release a video later this week and tell you what my final decision is and how I arrived at that decision. Some of you are going to want to know about freight rates. Honestly, and I've backed this up. I watched Trucking Made Successful. The week of the Blitz, I saw a video she did recently, and she said rates were up for dry van. And that was my experience as well. It seemed like rates were up. I don't know if that's something that will maintain or if that's something that's just because a bunch of guys took time off for the Blitz. But I can tell you that week was better than normal. It's still, I mean, look, let's be honest. I'm not planning trips to the Bahamas right now. It wasn't that kind of week, but it was better than it had been being. And of course, I've been off this week, so I haven't been on the load boards a lot and around the country enough to give you a fair assessment. But I'm generally an optimistic guy, and I feel like that things are starting to get better. All right, we've gone about 8 minutes in. Let's get into the comments. Looks like first in today was Roger Berry. He says, "I'm here. It's good to have you, sir." And Adam, who is a moderator, says, "Here, I'll catch most on the replay heading to the fire station for a while." All right. Well, I appreciate you dropping in. I don't know how long we'll go tonight. I figured 35 minutes to an hour because for that reason, I figure most of you are busy today, and I get it. Like I said, this just worked out where I could do this. I'd planned to be visiting my uncle tonight. He was at the dialysis treatment pretty good while today, so it didn't work out that I got to see him today. But um, and then after this, I got to do laundry and, like I said, get ready to leave tomorrow. Got to go do some grocery shopping, things like that. Get ready to load the truck in the morning. And Midlife Trucker says he was first. He was actually third, but I'm still glad he's here. Gary Cook, channel member. Good evening from Indianapolis, Indiana. Hey, Gary, I was thinking about you earlier today. How are things going over at your company? I know y'all had some issues there for a while. Did y'all get them ironed out, or are you still looking at other options as well? Um, and while he's answering that, and while I'm getting to your comments, let me say this too. It's been a while since I said it, but working for a trucking company is kind of like being in a marriage or dating someone. It's a relationship, and there's going to be times you disagree. There's going to be times that things don't go your way, that you have to compromise. That I mean, I know you guys think I'm perfect, but there's probably one or two things my wife wishes was different about me. There's probably one or two things I wish was different about her. Uh, it doesn't mean we're going to go file for divorce in the morning. And same thing with SRO Logistics. Is there one or two things I wish was different? Yeah. Am I going to quit over it? Well, probably not, but we'll see later this week. I'll come to a final decision on that and put a video out about it. But it's by far, regardless of what I decide, the best place I've ever worked. And so if you hear me come on here one time and I'm frustrated with a broker or I'm frustrated with a situation at SRO Logistics or something like that, it doesn't mean that I'm headed out the door or that there are problems. It means I'm being honest with you. I'm telling you the truth. If I came on here and I said, hey, this is the greatest company ever, there's no problems, then I'd be being disingenuous with you. And that's not fair to you or SRO or me or nobody. So all I can do is come on here and be honest with you and tell you how it really is. But yeah, this is a great place to work, regardless of what I end up deciding. And so, yeah, I'll probably have more to say about that. Speaking of that, though, I had an SRO logistics driver that took the liberty of making kind of an offhanded comment about me on another channel, and I sent him a text message or email. I don't remember. I'm like, hey, what's up? What'd you mean by that comment? Of course, he never answered me back, and back in the day when we were all on our CBs, we used to call it a CB Rambo. And it's people that would get behind their microphone and they would say stuff that they would never say to your face. And then they'd see you in the truck stop and they'd be like, hey, let me buy you a cup of coffee. Let me pay for that fountain drink. They'd kiss your tail in person and then get behind the CB and act like they were going to do something. And now we've got keyboard warriors, and they'll make jokes about me and talk bad about me behind my back. But then when I confront them, say, hey, what do you mean by that? What's going on? Is there a problem between us? Then they don't even have the, uh, let's call it moral fortitude, backbone, whatever you want, to respond in kind. So that's fine. Just know that there's those type of people in the world. And it's usually the people that I come on here and say good stuff about. So lately, the people that stab me in the back are the ones that I get on here and I go, man, this person just made a great video. Go check it out. Or I bring them on the show and I interview them. And I build them up. I say, hey, man, they got a great show. They're a good driver. They're usually the ones that'll go back to their channel and talk crap about me. And I know some of you are sitting out there thinking you know who I'm talking about. In this case, you don't necessarily. I haven't made it public or said anything about it. The person y'all think I'm talking about, let me just say that he's made some really good comments on his channel. The last video I saw from him, several of his viewers, or at least one of his viewers, tried to bait him into talking bad about me, and he didn't fall for the bait. I agreed with the comments he said. And so it's not, those of you that think you know who I'm talking about, it's not who you think. But just keep that in mind. And some people are going to come on here and bash me or other truck drivers in hopes that it'll start kind of a YouTube war and it'll help their channel grow. Um, my rebuttal to that would be this week is proof. When my aunt died, that was proof. Those are 3 videos I did, and when my father died, for that matter, 4 videos I've done that that I knew for a fact wasn't going to get a lot of views. I didn't do them for the views. I did them so friends and family that couldn't make those events could watch it. And there was no clickbait or nothing. At the start of the video, I tell you, hey, this ain't a trucking video. This is a parade for my grandson's graduation. This is his graduation. If you want to watch it, fine. If you want to skip it, I get it. I'll do trucking stuff again soon. And so, yes, do I like getting a check every month from YouTube? Absolutely. If I knew a way to grow the channel faster and make more money off of YouTube, would I do it? Absolutely. Same thing with trucking. If I figure out a way to make more money in trucking, am I going to do it? Absolutely. As long as it's legal and ethical. And, I'm not going to do anything underhanded to screw SRO over to make me an extra dollar or two. But if I could find a safe, legitimate way that Scott was okay with to make more money, sure, I'd do it. If I can find a safe, legitimate way to make more money on YouTube, then yeah, I'll do that too. So, yeah, that's what I'll say about that. But anyway, let's roll back into the comments here. Roger Berry, I'm going to be part of the replay game. 4 grandkids just showed up. Hope everyone is well and staying safe. Yes, sir. That's one thing I really enjoyed, especially the graduation dinner uh, for my grandson, and it was fun for a lot of reasons. I got to see some people I hadn't got to see in a while. Uh, the music was excellent. They had well-rounded, diverse music. There was Spanish music. There was Christian music. There was country music. There was a little bit of rock. It was a little bit of everything. I'm sure you're wondering if I got up and danced. The answer is no. I'm not a good dancer. I did watch everybody else dance and kind of visited with the grandkids and parents and things like that. Had a real good time. And so, revenue wise, it was a terrible week. I only did that one load that I'll tell you all about here in a little bit. But as far as spending time with the family, that work life balance, it was a great week for the most part. Didn't get to see my uncle and his family as much as I would have liked. Midlife trucker in Cuba, you can do anything you want once. Yeah, and I wish he was in here tonight. Ramon is actually from Cuba, and some of the stories he's told me, it's crazy over there. But really, I'm taken back by these college kids that think they want the United States to become more communist. They really don't know what they're asking for. So if you're in the upper echelons of the Communist Party, it's a great life. You live a life of luxury. But if you're just a common person, it's miserable. Everybody's the same, and I think that's what kills them is it stifles creativity. There's uh, there's no incentive to do better. There's no incentive to be better than the guy beside you. And I experienced this a little bit when I worked for AT&T for the union. They had their quota, and as long as you met their quota, nothing else really mattered. There wasn't any incentive to really excel. I mean, they had some bonuses and stuff where you would make a couple of $100 more, but really, as long as you met your quota every month, nobody really messed with you. And I always liked the car lots better because there it was all performance based, and if you're a performer, it's great, and if you're not, it's not. And so, the funny thing was, sales manager would come into a sales meeting and he'd say, "Who in here wants a raise?" And everybody'd raise their hand. "I want a raise. I want a raise." He'd say, "Sell more," and then he'd start laughing. And it was true. If it was dead at the car lot, they didn't say, "Hey, you know, when's the next commercial coming out? When are we doing another sale?" They'd say, "Get on your Facebook, get on your YouTubes, and drum up some traffic. Call some of your old leads." And so it was a different mentality for sure. Canadian trucker here listening, headed to Connecticut. Good to have you, sir. Thank you for being here. I can honestly say I haven't been to Connecticut in a long, long time. I hadn't really been in the far Northeast in a while. I think I've gone to Pennsylvania. I hadn't entered New York State in a while. Not that I mind going up there. I love going to, especially everywhere but the city. I like Buffalo, New York, and places like that. I don't like the tolls up there, but if I got the opportunity to go up there with a decent paying load, I wouldn't mind going up there. Let's see here. Gary Cook, channel member. I enjoy being here with Advanced Trucking. That's why I'm still here. I get along really well with the owners. I have no plans of going anywhere else, so I do love it here. Yeah, they're good people. I talked to them a few years ago. I haven't talked to them lately, and I don't know why my picture looks that way. Does it look gray on y'all's end too? It looks gray from here. Let me see if I can fix that. Settings, camera. I don't know if I'm going to be able to fix it. Let me try something else. Let me move. Maybe my light is doing it. Let me turn my light off. I don't know if that's better or not. It looks bad on my end. And Life on 18 Wheels is here. Good to have you tonight, my friend. Uh, he's got a pretty good show he does on Sunday nights. If you hadn't seen it, go check that out. And Skyline is here. He says, just stopped in to say hello, Todd. I'm driving towards Menards in Washington Courthouse, Ohio. I've been really busy and also trying to keep up with YouTube. Yes, sir. I got the gray to go away. I guess it was my light and being in this room and everything. Uh, I've got to get better. My time slots of Tuesday and Thursday, people are starting to try to fill those slots, trying to make their channel names similar to what mine were, things like that. So I've got to get this Tuesday and Thursday thing going again. And I know I've been saying that for months. A lot of people don't realize how time consuming YouTube can be. Hopefully, rates are coming up enough that I can devote more time to YouTube. But I definitely hope to be able to do a show tomorrow night. Obviously, I cannot guarantee it. Wait, today's Tuesday. Wait, what is today? Today's Monday. Yeah, I'm gonna try to do a show tomorrow night. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. This being off for a week has messed my brain up. I don't know if I'm coming or going. Canadian trucker had my trailer and load of lumber stolen from a truck stop 2 weeks ago. Driver, be careful where you drop your trailer. And then he says, no, never found it. So I got to ask some questions, and then I can tell y'all a quick story about me. Uh, where were you when it got stolen? Were you asleep in the truck? Were you at home, or where was you at? And it's a little harder on a flatbed, but dry vans, make sure you put a lock on your trailer. Do some things to slow down theft as much as you can. Also, it's a good time to mention load securement. It only takes a second to put a couple of straps or load locks in your trailer. Do that. Um, it can save you. People say, "Oh, I ain't going to worry about it." It saves you a lot of time in having an OS&D, things like that. Uh, Flatbedders with their loads being more visible, it just protects you from DOT messing with you. And channel member Gary Cook says, keep the light off. And Life on 18 says, appreciate the shout out. Yeah, I caught about 10 or 15 minutes of his Sunday show. I had a lot going on that day. And he usually has guests on. Looks like they have a fun time over there. It's real lighthearted and they do a lot of laughing. And then he does like current news stories and things like that. So it may be something you're interested in. I used to do a lot of news stories, and honestly, I don't have good news sources. I need to get better news sources. Either that or the stories I see are just not ones that I feel like I want to elaborate on. Okay, let's tell the New Mexico story. So I go to pick up this load, and my trailer's, I mean, clean. I swept it out twice. I took my blower, I blew it out. I mean, it was probably, and this sounds bad for me to say, the cleanest it's ever been since I've had it. Since November, the entire length of time I've had this trailer, it was probably the cleanest it's ever been. And I had read some of the reviews on this place. You guys know before I go to places that I read the reviews, and people had said in the comments, this place is a scam. You can go in there with a clean trailer and they'll want you to go to this special place and get a $140 washout. And so I got there, and I got there like 4 or 5 hours early. And they had said, it had also said in the reviews, get there early, they'll load you early. Well, I sat there about 4 or 5 hours. I got a dock door, pulled into the dock door, sat there probably another hour and a half, which it was still before my appointment time, so I couldn't complain. And they come out and they go, you got to go to this place and get the washout. Well, by this time it's 4:30, 5 o'clock in the evening, and the place is all the washout place they want me to go to is closing, like in 15 minutes. And I said, "Man, I'm not going to be able to get over there. They're closed. My trailer's clean." I said, "I'll go back there with the blower right now and show you. I can start blowing on the floor. Nothing's coming up. It's really, really, really clean." And this was like on a Saturday. They said, "Well, you'll have to wait till Monday," which was this past Monday a week ago, and get it sprayed out, and then we'll load you. And so, long story short, um, I said, "Well, I'm just not going to pull the load then." And I said, "I'm 3 hours from Lubbock. I'm going to go home for the weekend." So I left there, and you know, there was nothing in the rate con about washing out or nothing like that. And so that's what Scott called me for. He's like, "Man, I agree with you. It's not right the way the broker's doing you. I don't blame you for not wanting to sit there till Monday." And so I drove the 3 hours, went home, and Monday I got a different broker, same company that had a load in Lubbock, and trailer still clean, same everything. This time it did say washout, and so I called the broker, and they kind of hem hawed around. We don't know if it needs to be washed out or not. We just put that on all our rate cons, and so I said, "Well, I'm not gonna I'm not gonna do it if I have to go wash it out." And so they got clarification. It was food not for human consumption, I think is what they called it. Basically, wasted food they're going to take and feed to cattle. So they're like, "Nope, you don't have to get it washed out." I went over there, I got loaded. It was only going like 19 miles. Paid really good, like $800 for 19 miles. Uh, I went and delivered that load. Actually, I'm not telling that story correctly. I dropped the trailer and then it was ready the next day, which was fine because I was in Lubbock. Drove it 19 miles and they live unloaded it. After this, since it had had, food that wasn't for human consumption in the back of the trailer, I did get a washout and did get my truck washed, which, by the way, that was expensive, $101 to wash the truck and to wash out the trailer. It was going to be an additional 50 if I washed the trailer. So I did not wash the trailer, just did the washout. So now I've got a truly spotless trailer on the interior anyway. And I should be able, I'm very confident I'll be able to get something in the morning that's a decent load. And so Canadian trucker says he's at home, had a lock on his airline. Well, that's good because they'd have probably stole your trailer if you didn't. Is this the place that you normally park when you go home? And do they have security cameras or anything that'll help you? I'm sure at this point you've just kind of washed your hands of it and sorry, I was reading ahead. Maybe you've washed your hands of it and left it to insurance. But yeah, man, that's crazy. Skyline said that I missed his first comment. No, I didn't see your first comment, I don't guess. The very first comment I see from Skyline is this one right here. Just stop by and say hello. I'm still driving to Menards. I actually read this comment. Was there another one before that that I didn't see, Skyline? Because I didn't see it. All right, we're caught up, and it's at about where I thought we'd be at the 31-minute mark. Let me remind everybody, please give this video a thumbs up and share it on your social media platforms. My inactivity has really hurt the channel, and so I really need you guys giving these videos thumbs up and sharing them and subscribing to keep this thing going so that I can get back in the YouTube algorithms and get the kind of views and attention that we're used to getting on this channel. Give y'all just a few minutes to look everything over. Also, people ask me about truck insurance. You can click on the title of this video and it'll bring up the description. That information's there. They ask about the website. It's truckertodd.net. Somebody even asked me today how they could contact me. It's in the clicker going across or the banner going across the bottom of the screen. But my email is todd@truckertodd.net, and you can email me at any time. I'll get back to you just as quick as I can. Um, Sometimes people fall through the cracks if I get a whole bunch at once. So if I don't get back to you within a few hours or so, message me again, and hopefully I'll see your stuff. Also, if you want to know more about SRO Logistics, his email is in the little banner going across the bottom as well. It's safety@srologistics.com. Tell him you've been watching Trucker Todd and you got more questions. And Skyline says, oops, I guess I didn't submit. That's all right, my friend. But no, Skyline's in my good graces. I wouldn't purposefully ignore one of his comments. Channel member Gary Cook, what's the opinion of being able to understand English? That's going to be interesting. I'm a big proponent of that. It's a safety thing first and foremost, uh, and it's a productivity thing as well. It's a safety thing because these guys go barreling into construction zones and they can't read the signs, so they don't know when the left lane goes away, or there's something up ahead, crash up ahead, or all the things these digital signs tell us. And nobody has a CB anymore, so they can't hear it on the CB. And so it's definitely a safety thing. Also, if there's an accident, being able to respond to first responders and things like that is a critical safety issue, but it's also a productivity issue. And I've had a lot of shippers and receivers talk to me about this. They show up and they're wanting a pickup number, and the guy doesn't understand enough English to be able to communicate with them, and that holds up the line for other drivers that have all their information and are ready to get checked in and loaded. Fuel islands are also having problems because while there's a lot of fuel islands that speak Spanish, there's not a lot of fuel islands that speak Russian or Serbian or any of the other European languages. I guess it helps a little that we've got Google Translate, and Apple has a translation things and all of that, but it's still a hassle that could be easily avoided. Also, I'd like to see everybody have to pass the same test to get a license to use their license in the United States. That may be a little harder to do because, like, if you go to me with a Texas driver's license, if I go to a foreign country, most foreign countries have reciprocity with the United States, and my driver's license will be good in that foreign country. And so I get that on a on a small vehicle level, on a Class C level, but for commercial vehicles, I think they should have to come up to our standards for that. And it's not racist. I don't care what the country is. I've said it in a lot of videos. If uh, if I went to another country, they'd expect me to follow the rules and the customs of that country. And same thing anywhere else in the world. If they come here, I just want them to follow the rules and customs of our country. Canadian trucker, drop it. Yeah, you dropped the load. I got you. Skyline says, how can you share your videos on my channel? I don't know how. Basically, you really can't. What you can do is you can share it on your Facebooks. You can share it to like a friend. If you've got a trucker friend or something, you can share it that way. And I've actually done that with some of your videos, Skyline. If anybody has a question about Crete, a lot of times I'll say, hey, I know a guy that's really knowledgeable about Crete. He's been there several years. And I say, hey, his name's Skyline, but let me send you one of his videos. And I'll look through your videos and try to find one that's close to pertaining to the questions that they have and send them. That's the best way to do it. Um, things like that. Gary Cook, channel member brokers will have to be careful who takes their freight. They already are because loads are getting stolen and things like that. So some of them have two-step authentication. Some of them have to call Scott or email Scott before they'll send me the rate con. Some of them won't send it to me. Some of them have to send it to Scott and him send it to me. There's just all kinds of stuff like that. Some of them want to speak directly to his insurance and verify it directly with the agent. So there's a lot more security there. And while there is drivers that are doing shady things out there, I would say there's a lot more truck uh, brokers that are doing shady things than there are drivers. The brokers are the ones that you got to watch, and that's why before we pull any load, we run them through this little credit thing to make sure they're good with our factoring company because uh, there's a lot of companies that'll try to get out of paying you. And then I don't want to say a lot. There's a significant amount that you need to watch what you're doing because you could be out all that fuel, all that time, and everything if you sign up with a shady broker that doesn't want to pay. Life on 18 wheels. Once the enforcement begins, I'm hoping that capacity goes below available freight. It will be a trucker's market again. Yes, sir. That is something I can definitely agree with. That's people say, oh, it doesn't matter, but I've heard reports as high as 177,000 drivers, and so that's a large, significant part of loads that might potentially be available. Now, the flip side to that, we may have a bunch of people like we did when COVID hit that have no business in the trucking industry that'll go out and buy trucks and try to jump in. But I'm more like you are, Life on 18. I think a little more optimistically that things will get better once we weed out some of these people. Skyline says, "Oh, okay, I got it. I know in TikTok it's pretty easy. I actually followed you there also. I appreciate it. TikTok is a weird format for me. So are the shorts. Because if you, and you have been, I'm saying this for people that haven't been here as long as you, my video formats were usually 10 to 15-minute videos where I took a subject and broke it down and, how to pick a good lease purchase, how to properly quit a company, things like that. And it's hard to squeeze those down into a 30-second or 60-second clip. Matt's was great because I could do a walk around on a truck, condense it down to 60 seconds and shoot it out. But they've increased it now on TikTok. I believe you can put out a 10-minute video. And so sometimes I can, squeeze a video down, fit it in there. Or if I stop and see something interesting, I can shoot a quick video and put it out there. But that channel grew really, really quick. I got up to like 2,500 subscribers really, really quick. And since I hadn't been making as many videos lately, that number has kind of dropped a little bit. But it's still uh, a decent turnout and viewership and things like that. Some of them will get 1,100, 1,200 views, and that just shocks me, to be honest, because I don't really promote it as hard as I do YouTube. Also, just another housekeeping thing. Being that this is Tuesday, I will be changing the title of this video at the end. And so if you go back and look for it later, it's going to be Tuesday Trucker Talk, since this is Tuesday, whatever episode it is, and then it'll say Happy Memorial Day. So if you go back and look for it later, it's going to have a different title. Hopefully they catch all those drivers that have fake CDLs. Yeah, it would be scary enough if it was people in cars driving around with fake licenses or no licenses. We already have enough of those here in Lubbock where I live. We've got a lot of people driving around without truck or without car insurance. And that's why I carry uninsured motorists. So if one of those clowns runs into me and they don't have insurance, I'm still covered. But it's more dangerous when it's a commercial vehicle pulling 80,000 pounds up and down the highway, and they're working for one of these shady Eastern European companies that'll adjust their logbooks, and they're driving insane hours every day. I like this comment. Midlife, this is one of your best comments. Midlife Trucker. They aren't required to be able to read War and Peace. They just have to learn a few dozen phrases. That's true. And, we've got drivers that are American born citizens that their literacy is maybe not all the way there. They're probably at the fifth grade level or something like that. But just general communication is important. You are right again, Midlife. Today is Monday, so I won't be messing with the title. As I said, being off a week has scrambled my brain. Also, I was sick for part of the week. Not sick like, but I hurt my back and shoulder and stuff like that. Um, when we went to that graduation for my grandson, my wife's Taurus SHO had it has a little air dam that goes across the front, and you had to go over this little curb thing where they wanted you to park, and the little incline tore it loose, so I had to get under there and reattach that. I'm just not as young as I used to be. I got it done in 100-degree heat, but it was no fun. But you are correct. I won't have to change the title, but I do need to come out with a video tomorrow night, and I need to be more coherent. Let me do this right now. Let me hit the Coke Zero caffeine and see if I can become more alert and coherent. It's probably a good thing I'm not driving tonight. Oh, this is funny. Midlife trucker, if the wrong Cajun goes into an English check, it could be bad. Yeah, A lot of people don't know this. Most of my family left the Lubbock area when I was uh, just a year or two out of high school, like maybe 19, 20 years old, and moved to East Texas, and they were real close to the Cajuns. And it reminds me of the Rush Hour movie. Do you understand the words coming out of my mouth? Man, ain't nobody understand the words coming out of your mouth. That Cajun accent, if it's really thick, it is tough to understand. Life on 18 and read signs and define what they mean too. Yeah, that would be great. Come up with a little flip chart and just say, hey, what does this digital sign mean? Uh, just basic stuff. And some of it is universal. Like if you go to Mexico, and I've never been to Mexico, but I've seen videos, their stop sign looks a lot like our stop sign, but instead of saying stop, it'll say alto. And I mean, if since we're doing 18's comments, if me and 18 went to Mexico and we were driving down the roads down there and we saw a stop sign that said alto on it, he and I would both be able to discern, hey, we better stop. This is a stop sign. Or if we seen a yield sign, we'd be able to recognize it. So not too worried about that as much, but the digital signs, or if there's an accident, um, the officer needs to be able to walk up to these guys and say, hey, what happened out there? And the guy needs to be able to give a description. And right now, some of them can, some of them can't. And take it a little step further, rules and customs. I'd like them to quit washing their feet in the same bathroom sink I'm going to wash my hands at. They get free showers when they get diesel. Take a shower. I'd like them to wear clean clothes. Things like that. Take a shower. I try to do one every day. Realistically, it's usually every other day. But definitely by that third day, you need to have a shower. And that's why I keep my hair short. I used to have long hair, but I cut it all off so that it's easier to groom in the morning, so that if I wake up and walk into a shipper, I don't have bedhead. I don't look like a homeless guy that climbed out of the ditch. Gary Cook, channel member, do you have any effects from your stroke, or do you feel better from when you had your stroke? That's a great question. I think I do have a little bit of recurring effects. One of them is, and you'll see it in these videos, I'll stutter sometimes. Um, I never really stuttered before. Um, Sometimes I'll be in the middle of a sentence, forget what I'm talking about, and that's not, I don't know if that's stroke related or just because I'm 52 or because I got so many things running through my head at once that kind of my brain goes faster than my mouth does. I talk slow. I've always talked slow. But I'm also reading ahead comments and things like that. I'm looking at several things at once here. I got my phone going on the side. So I'm not sure how much of it is stroke related and how much of it is just me getting older. But I regularly go see a neurologist. I regularly go see a cardiologist, and I regularly go see my regular doctor. And they put me through a whole series of tests, and they feel like I'm in good shape to drive. When I went to do my DOT physical, which I believe I did it in March, was the last one. I had so much documentation that it was a no-brainer for her. She's like, "Oh yeah, we're giving you a year card." I had a letter from my neurologist. I had a letter from my cardiologist. Had a letter from my regular doctor, and everybody was saying this guy's good to go. So I'm pretty confident. Um, and on top of that DOT physical, I also do an annual physical with my doctor, and he goes over me pretty thorough. And this year he wants me to go get a diabetic eye exam, not because anything's wrong, just so that if anything does pop up, we can catch it early. I'm now down to 227 pounds. And before anybody goes, well, you're still fat, I started off at 312. At one point, I was 312 pounds. So definitely going in the right direction, and I think I'm good. I think I'm 100%? Absolutely not. But I don't have any concerns about driving or anything like that. Steve Given, government should mandate all drivers minimum high school diploma. Problem solved. Uh, on the surface, yeah, I agree with that. The problem is we've got schools in this country where people are graduating high school and they can't read, and so as long as as people are literate, yeah, I like the high school diploma, but we really need to crack down on these high schools that are spitting kids out that can't read or do basic math. Basic math is not as important now because your electronic log will figure most of the math for you. I remember, and I'm sure most of you do too, when you used to have to carry the little ruler and you used to have to carry a little calculator and things like that. I don't miss those days at all. There are definitely some pros to electronic logs. There's a couple of negatives. It, but yeah, that's what I would say about that. But it does sound like a good idea, Steve. If tomorrow FMCSA said that we were going to mandate all drivers have minimum high school diplomas, I wouldn't necessarily be opposed to that. Let's see, midlife trucker. Everyone who has a driver's license already took the science test. It was very easy, and you weren't required to get 100 on it. I'm trying to remember back because it's been almost 30 years since I took my CDL test. I'm trying to remember what I thought the hardest test was, either hazmat or air brakes. Because when I went through a truck driving school in Oklahoma that's not there no more, uh, they didn't spend a lot of time talking about air brakes. They had a model there where you could see them, but I don't think in 1996 I had a real good understanding of how air brakes worked. And even now, I wouldn't call myself an expert on air brakes. I get the general idea of how they work, but I'm not the guy if you want me to give a 1 hour lecture on how air brakes work. I've just got kind of a general understanding. Gary Cook, channel member. I went to the doctor 2 weeks ago. I have normal blood pressure, normal cholesterol. I feel so much better and sleeping better. I eat better and live better. Yeah, this is what's funny. When I first, well, the first time I took Ozempic, and I'm not on Ozempic no more, it put me on the floor. The only thing I can think is because it was lowering my blood sugar so fast. And I would go to these restaurants and order these big meals and not be able to eat but about half of it. Now I'm on Mounjaro, or however you say it, Mounjaro, whatever. Um, and my good friend that's in here sometimes, Chris Morris, he's the one that told me about that one. He lost 90 something pounds on it. And I said, well, I got to ask my doctor about it. And my doctor was reluctant to put me on it because Ozempic was working so well. And he said, Todd, your insurance ain't going to approve it because they're going to say, Ozempic's working. You're losing weight, you're getting healthier. And then I kind of plateaued. My weight kind of leveled off. He goes, now they'll probably approve it because you're not losing weight anymore. You've kind of leveled off. And once I got on it, I started losing weight again. And the only thing I see is that you do go to the bathroom a lot more, but your appetite is a lot less. And so I'm glad for that. And I'm glad to hear you're doing better as well, Gary Cook. And midlife again. The digital signs are supposed to have standard DOT messaging. Again, it's merely learning a few dozen phrases. Lane closed ahead, everyone exit. Yeah, I agree with you. Um, they don't have to be able to read Shakespeare, but they just got to be able to read enough to be safe on the highway. I don't know if I could read Shakespeare. I remember when they did that stuff in school, I just kind of ignored it. Life on 18, these CDL puppy mills should be held accountable as well. Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that life on 18. I used to say back when they had problems with drivers cheating on their logbooks and driving beyond their hours, the easiest way to fix this, even fatigue driving, is to hold the dispatchers accountable too. And I'll give you an example. Let's say now, before we go any further, let me just tell you a little bit about life on 18. He is an owner operator at Landstar, so this is purely an example. This is not a dig at him in any way, but let's say that Life on 18 was driving. He had a dispatcher. Let's say that I was his dispatcher. And let's say he had a load and he was 30 minutes from the delivery point. And I'm like, hey, 18, I really need that load there. I need you to go ahead and, doctor your logbook. We're talking about paper logs when they're around. I need you to get that load there, man. Help me out. Do me a favor. And 18 reluctantly says, all right, Todd, you're my dispatcher. I want you to like me. I want you to give me good loads. So I'm going to do what you say, Trucker Todd. I'm going to go ahead and push that load and get it there. Let's say he gets 5 miles down the road and has an accident. They're not going to come after Trucker Todd, the dispatcher. They're going to come after 18. They're going to say, hey, you should have known better. You were out of hours. You should have parked and told your dispatcher to go fly a kite. Me as the dispatcher, I'm going to say, 18, I would have never told you to do that. I would have told you to park. You got to be safe. You got to follow the rules. Well, if I was held to a criminal standard for that, if they said, "Hey, Todd, we know that you knew he was tired. You can see his loads, what he's doing. You should have known he didn't have hours. You're just as responsible as 18 is." When he even got close to being out of hours, I'd be like, 18, pull that thing over. Get you some rest. I'm not going to jail for you. And I think that's a solution for a lot of these logbook issues. We don't even need logbooks. Just say, hey, we expect you as adults to know when you're fatigued and when you're not. If you drive fatigued, we're going to throw the book at you. If you're a dispatcher and you force a company driver to drive fatigued and he has an accident, we're coming after you just like we're going after the driver, and we're going after the company. Then all of a sudden you'd see these companies going, hey, we want you to park it. We know you say you're not tired, but you've drove over 600 miles today. You're probably tired. Pull over. And it would also eliminate this if you're having trouble finding parking. You could go another 15 or 20 minutes till you found the spot. And I know Midlife disagrees with me on this. That's fine. We've debated it before, and I see his side of it, and I think he sees my side of it. But just saying that it's easier to push people to do stuff illegal when there's no consequences for you. It's easier for me to tell Midlife or Life on 18 or somebody to drive beyond their hours or do something illegal, speed a little bit, if nothing comes back on me. But if I'm held criminally liable too, then maybe I've got some skin in the game and I give them different advice. Gary Cook, channel member. I have type 2 diabetes. I have it under control. I had to change my lifestyle and habits. I can't tell you how much better I feel. Yeah, I'm starting to feel better on that kind of stuff, but it did take a while. When your body's adjusting to the medications and things like that, the smaller portions, it does take some getting used to. But man, it feels good when you pull out the scale and each time the numbers are less. What really feels good is when I go to these doctor's appointments. They're like, dang, you've lost a lot of weight. Were you wearing heavy clothes last time? Or no, it's just the way it is. Skyline the trucker. I learned on paper logs. Yeah, I did too. And speaking of paper logs and electronic logs, did y'all see all the stuff that's going on with Warner lately? They look like they could be having some financial issues. They were doing some stuff with people's 401ks and all kinds of stuff. I just caught a glimpse of it earlier. I deep enough into it to really comment in depth. But it looks like Warner Enterprises is having some financial setbacks, as are a lot of companies right now. It's a tough market. Do I think Warner's going to shut their doors? No. Do I think they can ride the storm? Maybe, but or somebody will buy them out. They're basically too big to fail, though. Somebody will either buy them out or they'll ride the storm. Midlife says there's a lot of good old Americans that don't have a high school diploma. Yeah, I've got some family members that don't have a high school diploma. I've got some family members that got a GED. A GED is amazingly simple to get, and it's hard for me to think of a reason why anybody wouldn't have either a high school diploma or a GED. Um, I mean, there's programs if you can't afford to pay for it. It's only like $40 if you do have to pay for it. Here in Lubbock, they got classes you can take to get you ready for it. Flexible schedules. There's books you can get at your local library for free that have study guides in them. In this day and age, everybody should have either a GED or a high school diploma. Midlife says you can graduate high school without being able to read and write if you can. Yeah, that was what I was getting to earlier. We've got schools in this country that are graduating people that can't read and write, and or if they failed 2 or 3 times in K through 12, they'll just go ahead and push them through to keep from having a backlog. And that wasn't the case when I was in school. If you didn't make the numbers, you didn't graduate. Channel member Gary Cook skills test was hard for me. I stink at parallel parking. So for me, I grew up, my dad was a cotton farmer for the majority of my childhood, and it was a different time. But I can remember being 7 years old and driving around the farm on the turn rows. We lived in a really small town. I can remember driving on the shoulder of the road, going to town to get cottonseed. Those kind of things would get him in a lot of trouble these days if we tried it now, and they'd get me in a lot of trouble as well. But back then, as long as you stayed on the shoulder and you didn't swerve or nothing, the cops really didn't mess with you. And so pulling cotton trailers, hauling loads, things like that. We had a gooseneck water trailer I pulled, things like that. By the time I was 11, 12 years old, I was a really good driver. And so I didn't really have a lot of trouble with the skills test. I could parallel park the truck. I didn't have any trouble with the corners and stuff. I took my test, I want to say in Wichita Falls. Uh, the truck driving school I went to was in Altus, Oklahoma. But since I was a Texas driver, they took us to Wichita Falls. Or no, it was Vernon. I believe it was Vernon, Texas, where we did our driving test. And before you guys ridicule me, it was almost 30 years ago. So cut me some slack. But then, oh, getting back to this before I go to the next comment. Uh, when I got a little, well, just a few years ago, actually, like maybe 2008, 2009, the church I was going to wanted me to drive the church van. And it was actually a bus, a small bus, and I had to take to get a endorsement on my license because of the amount of passengers. I had to take a test for that small bus, and I had to parallel park that, and that was actually harder than doing it in a truck for me because I had driven a truck and pulled trailers a lot more than I had driven a small what you'd call like a charter bus, a small charter bus. I think it was 22 passengers or something. And so what I did, the church, I said, hey, I told the preacher, I said, hey, I need to drive this thing for a little while before I go take a test in it and just kind of get used to the dimensions and familiarize myself. He said, sure, take it home. So I drove it around Lubbock a little bit, got used to it, and I aced that driving test. Midlife Trucker says we took the science test when we got a regular driver's license. That was the sign part and the written laws part. Ah, okay. So we had our driver's ed instructor was basically one of these football coaches in school, and he was a goofy individual. We gave him the hardest time during that test. Like he would just hop in the passenger seat and say drive. So we would just make a plan, and we would get him way far from the school, and we would always get back late. And he never realized what we were doing to him, but uh, we'd have a lot of laughs in that car while we were doing driver's ed. It was a lot of fun. I don't know if driver's ed's like that now, if it's still fun or if they're a lot more strict now. But most of us being in a small country town, uh, we had been driving since we were young, so we knew what we were doing. Nobody was really scary. Although we did have this one guy. Uh, his first name was Aaron. Yeah, I think it was Aaron. He uh, he drove the wrong way down a one-way street, and it was fun to watch my driver instructor have a panic attack. Skyline, how can you be a trucker if you don't know how to communicate with the shippers and receivers and read signs? And then they pass me on the right when the sign says trucks left lane and they're mad. Yeah, exactly. I don't know if I told this story or not. The other day, I was picking up a load in Carlsbad, New Mexico, a load of pecans, and the shipper was just so excited that I spoke English and I was friendly and I was there when I was supposed to be. And basically, they called me a professional. And I was able to make a U-turn in their parking lot, which was required to back up where they wanted you. They had had several drivers that couldn't even make a U-turn in their parking lot. That when they got done loading me, they said, "Todd, we're about to have lunch. Would you mind staying and having pizza with us?" And I had time on the load. I said, "No, I don't mind." So they ordered pizza, and I stayed there and ate pizza with them. And they said it's so nice to have somebody there that spoke English and that didn't give them attitude and stuff like that. And uh, they turned out to be a real nice group of people. They were trying to get me to come back. They said they had 5 loads that week, and I tried to get back to get another one, but I didn't make it back in time. Midlife trucker, I got my first 2 year DOT physical in May. I've always had 1 year until now. It is my understanding that I'll never be able to have a 2 year card because of the diabetes, the sleep apnea, the high blood pressure, and now the stroke. I don't think I'll probably ever have a 2 year card, but I'm okay with the 1 year card. I've been going to the same place for probably 10 years, and that's the problem with some of these companies. If they want me to go to their doctor, it's a big hassle because I got to get a CPAP printout, and then I got to get notes from the neurologist and the cardiologist and the regular doctor. And it's just nice to go to a doctor that already has that stuff. They're in Lubbock, same place where my doctors are, or same town where my doctors are. So if they say, "Hey Todd, we really need this form before we feel comfortable about this," no problem. Fax it over here. Give it to me. I'll take it over and get it filled out real quick. I'll be back in a couple hours, something like that. So it's just really, really convenient to be able to do it here. Some of these trucking companies where they want you to use their in-house doctor or something like that, it would be an enormous hassle to say the least. And then they'd probably want to give me a 90-day card and make me do it all again. Skyline says, "Nice, midlife." Yeah, congratulations on that 2 year card. Sorry, I'm losing my voice. Midlife says, "It sounds like you want the carrier to control when you can drive. The driver makes that decision. He's the only one in the truck." No, the driver still makes the decision. What I want is some dispatcher accountability to where they're on the hook with you because, I mean, your dispatcher can say, hey, midlife, I think you ought to park it, but you're going to do what you want to do, especially if you're an owner operator. So I just want, especially in the day of recorded calls, where if If you told your dispatcher, hey, Todd, I'm out of hours, and I'm like, hey, midlife, I really need you to get it there, that I'm on the hook too, not just you. If I'm pressuring you and they can prove that I pressured you, there should be some accountability for them too. Midlife trucker, if you can't find parking at 11 hours and 15 minutes, isn't going to make a difference. You'd be surprised. I've got guys that have called me that have gone 2 minutes over. One of them was backing into a spot. It took him a few minutes. He went 2 minutes over on his logbook and he got written up by his company. I had another guy that made a U turn in a Love's parking lot and they fired him for making a U turn on private property. I can tell you right now, there's a lot of shippers and receivers that I've made U turns in their parking lot so I don't have to blindside back a dock. Channel member Gary Cook, I heard that Warner Enterprises is canceling their 401k. That's a bad sign when that happens. I remember when Celadon went under. I don't think Warner will close. Yeah, I agree with everything you just said there, Gary. That's what I heard too, that it was either froze or that they were canceling it. I was, like I said, I was looking into that when I started the show today. If I'm able to do a Tuesday night show, hopefully I can get some research done and talk more about it then. Gary Cook, channel member, I started driving back in 95. Back then, 48-foot trailers were common. Now, today, the 48 are gone. Yeah, at Dart, we had some that was 57 foot instead of 53, and they had some 48s as well. So you could only take the 53 or the 57s in certain states. And I guess 57s are still around, but they're not near as common as what they used to be. Gary Cook, Snyder National used to have the skid pad. I learned a lot from that, but eventually Snyder did away with it. Yeah, I think that's something I'd like to see come back at these truck driving schools, where they teach you how to steer out of a skid and things like that. Swift has a deal, and I did a video about it when I was there, called their Top Gun program, and it's like a driving simulator. They still get you in the truck and do it that way, but it kind of lets you get the mechanics down of how to back and how the truck will steer and stuff like that. I definitely see a place for it, but they still, get you in the truck too. As far as because somebody's going to say that I'm endorsing their training program, they have several schools. Some of them are better than others. Um, just like with truck drivers, none of them are perfect. Like I said, some of them are better than others, but I did like their Top Gun program. They had an instructor that spent a few hours with me and showed me the ins and out. What they do is they take their truck driving school and the people that are the students that are in there that they feel like are doing the best in the truck driving school, they offer them the chance to go through this 2 week Top Gun program. And obviously, they'd like to put more people through it. The system that they use is very expensive, and so that's why they can only put some people through it. What insurance companies do you recommend? Have you ever had a claim against you or others and it was a smooth process? So, the current company that I'm using is 10-4 Insurance. I've got her information in the description of the video if you want to look at a quote. I pay just over $500 a month, like 509, and I realize that's a little high. Keep in mind, I had an accident 2 years ago, and it's based on the value of your truck, things like that. I've got my truck insured for 55,000, and the only reason I'm telling you that is more than likely your insurance is going to be cheaper than mine. I had a guy, I guess last week, he insured his truck. I want to say he insured his for like 90 something thousand, and his was 400 and something a month. So it really just depends on your situation. I would recommend giving her a call and letting her give you a quote. Her name is, I believe it's Jessica, and her phone number's in my videos. If you don't see it, email me at todd@truckertodd.net, and I'll get you two in contact with each other. Second part of your question, have I ever had a claim against me or others, and was it a smooth process? That's an easy one. The wreck I just mentioned um, from 2 years ago, it totaled the truck. At the time, I had my insurance with OIDA, and it was a pretty smooth process. It took about a month from the time of the accident till the claim was settled. I'd say 4 to 6 weeks right in that area, which I'm told is really fast. It normally takes about 90 days. And they were really good to deal with. Let's see. Skyline says attitude is everything in trucking. Yeah, I agree with that for the most part. Now you can get ran over out here too. If you're a pushover, some of these brokers and some of these shippers and receivers will run over you. Um, I think back to when I first started driving. Uh, you'd go to some of these shippers and then they'd say, uh, we're going to go to lunch, and when we get back, we'll start loading you. And me, in an effort to be friendly, to be easygoing, I'd say, it's no problem, take your time. Well, that's exactly what happened. They'd go to lunch and they'd come back and they'd back burner me and take their time. So you got to be friendly, but you can't be a pushover either. And but yeah, for the most part, that's right. If your attitude will define a lot of situations, even with DOT and law enforcement. If uh, if you're a butthole, that's going to be a lot different to deal with than if you're a reasonable person. Skyline, I got to go. See you on your next live later, everyone. Over and out. All right, Skyline, thanks for coming in. Have a great Memorial Day, and thank you for being here. Gary Cook, channel member. That's a big trailer. Yes, sir. And we also did uh, doubles and triples at Swift, especially when I was in training because my trainer was on a J.C. Penney dedicated account for part of my training. And so they had the low floors and the smaller tires and the special docks. And um, I got a really good training. So back then, Gary Cook, channel member, asked, didn't Swift have a governed speed limit of 55 at the time? At the time, J.B. Hunt and Schneider, if I remember correctly, were 55, and we were 57 at Swift. And man, if you hated it because you'd see one of their trucks and it would take you forever to get around one of them, and everybody hated you. And I remember when Swift increased the speed to 60 miles an hour for company drivers and 65 for their lease purchase. And it felt so much faster going 3 miles an hour faster. But to me, it was a safety thing even then because what did you do? When your truck was at 57 or even 60, you found that you needed to do things or you felt like you needed to do things to try to make up time. So you would find yourself running a little faster through construction zones than you should, driving through towns a little faster than you should, and things like that. So, and it wasn't just me, everybody was doing it. Heck, my trainer was doing it. And so it's one of those things that was a good idea, but I don't know that it necessarily made us any safer. And it may have been more dangerous because there was a lot of people running back then with triple digit trucks. And they're coming up on a guy, pass a guy doing 57, passing a guy doing 55. And then heaven forbid if you hit a hill pulling doubles or triples or something like that. And then later, I didn't pull any 57 foots at Swift, but when I went to Dart, I pulled some 57-foot trailers there. And that's a long trailer. Now, generally, it was light loads like paper towels or toilet paper or something like that. But if you weren't used to pulling one, that was a long trailer. You wouldn't think 4 foot would make that much difference. All right, I'm going to pull that off of there. Give y'all a few seconds to put a comment. We're doing good. This is one of our longer videos. I figured we'd be lucky to get 35 or 45 minutes out of it, but you guys have stuck with me for almost an hour and a half. I don't want to deprive anybody. If y'all got something you want to talk about, throw it up there and we'll jump into it. We're still got 21 of you in here with me. And if not, I'm going to hop off here. I'm going to have to show y'all my shiny head. It's getting hot in this room with all the lights on me. Anything. Here we go. Didn't Swift have a governed speed limit of 55 at one time? If they did, I'm not aware of it. It had been prior to 1996. I just remember it being 57, and then Swift and J.B. Hunt had the cab overs at 55. Um, but I'm inclined to believe that they might have because I drove a truck. I remember the truck number, 19149. It was a day cab when I was on that dedicated account. And it was revving like 1700 RPMs when you were doing 57. So I figure it was a 55-mile-an-hour truck that they turned up their trucks when they increased their company speed limit. But I remember when they went from 57 to 60, they did it slowly. They said, we're going to turn them up when we do the oil changes. So every day when I went to work, I was hoping, oh boy, I hope this truck's had an oil change so I can go 3 miles an hour faster. Because it really, on that dedicated deal, I was home every day. So it really didn't matter any more than just getting home a few minutes quicker. And not even that much quicker. 10 hours, 3 miles an hour, get you home 30 minutes quicker. Okay, I guess I'm going to try something. I'm going to experiment with one of these new features uh, while we're waiting. All right, somebody comment anything real quick and let's see if it pops up on the screen. I'll take that no. Or I'll comment something and see if it puts it on the screen. Nope, it didn't do nothing. Wonder if I do it, if it does it. I'm sure this is just real interesting, but oh, I see. It puts the comments in the right corner. Well, that's pretty cool. I still like it better when I click on them and they go up there, but I'm going to take that off there. Now I know what that does. All right, folks. It looks like we're going to wind this down. I appreciate everybody being here on this Memorial Day. Y'all have a great night, and I'll try to come back tomorrow night. I'll split log or do whatever I can. Let me say hi to Racing Ray. He just popped in. He's a moderator. Getting ready to wrap this one up. I appreciate you being here. Uh, Anybody that didn't see the video, it'll be in the replay here shortly. Y'all go back and rewatch it. It's definitely worth watching. I didn't know what day of the week it was. For some reason, I kept thinking it's Tuesday, but it's Monday. But anyway, have a great Memorial Day. I'm going to give Race and Ray a call here in a few minutes. Y'all have a great night. Bye-bye.